Have you ever looked at someone in their 80s or 90s, still walking independently, mentally sharp, enjoying life with energy, and wondered, how are they still thriving, while others seem to break down by 75? It's a question that haunts many of us as we or our loved ones get older. But here's the truth. Based on over a decade of working directly with seniors in wellness and clinical settings, it's not luck, and it's not just about genetics. The real difference often comes down to the smallest habits, the kind you don't even think twice about. And unfortunately, those very habits might be what's silently stealing your strength, dulling your mind, and limiting your freedom. Let me put it this way. There are people who remain mobile and vibrant into their 90s, and others who are using a walker or wheelchair by 75. Why? What's really making the difference? That's the heart of today's video. We're going to uncover 5 of the most overlooked reasons why health declines after 75, supported by science and real-life stories. And yes, some of them may surprise you, because they sound so harmless. Like sitting too much, or eating the same kinds of food, or spending time only with people your age, or having no real goal for the day, or even, this one's huge, living in an environment that no longer stimulates your senses. I've seen it countless times. A senior moves into a routine that feels safe, familiar, and unchanging. But over time, that sameness becomes the very thing that causes the brain to slow down. Did you know that older adults who experience a lack of sensory variety, smell, touch, new environments, can face cognitive decline up to 3 times faster than those who regularly engage their senses? That's not just a statistic. That's a silent alarm. And it's just the beginning. Because we'll also explore the hidden risks of low protein intake, the danger of prolonged sitting, which some studies compare to smoking, and how living without daily goals can cause your brain to stop firing on all cylinders. But here's the encouraging part. Every single one of these risks is reversible. That's right. With the right small adjustments, you can improve strength, memory, balance, clarity, and overall vitality, even after 75. So if you're here because you care about your long-term independence or want to help someone you love age with dignity and strength, pause for a moment. Hit that like button to show you care, subscribe if you haven't yet, and comment yes below if any part of what I just said sounds like your life or the life of someone you know. Because this video could be the beginning of a real turnaround. And trust me, you'll want to stay till the end. Why? Because I'm going to share 2 of the most powerful yet simple tools you've probably never heard of. A 3-second movement that helps preserve leg strength, and a scent-based technique that's been shown to slow memory decline 3-fold. These aren't gimmicks. They're backed by research, and they've changed lives. So stay with me, and let's begin the journey of reclaiming not just your health, but your confidence, your clarity, and your independence. And we'll start with something that seems harmless, but might be slowly dulling your brain every single day: the lack of sensory stimulation. Part 1. Lack of sensory stimulation. Have you ever walked into a room and smelled freshly brewed coffee, and suddenly felt more alert, more alive? That wasn't just a coincidence. That was your brain responding to stimulation, coming back online, firing up networks that keep you present and engaged. Now imagine going days or even weeks without experiencing anything new. Same walls, same meals, same sounds. What happens when life becomes too predictable, too quiet, too familiar? The answer is more alarming than you think. Your brain begins to shut down, not from age, but from a lack of input. Your brain may be falling asleep simply because you haven't changed your environment or sensory experience in years. In my years of working with older adults, I've seen this silent fading happen over and over again. What looks like just aging is often something far more preventable: sensory deprivation. You see, our brain isn't wired to thrive on repetition. It needs challenge, variation, surprise. Every new sound, texture, scent, or taste activates neural pathways and helps preserve cognitive clarity. But when we remove that variety, the brain, quite literally, starts dimming the lights. Studies have shown that older adults with minimal sensory stimulation experience cognitive decline up to 3 times faster than those who engage their senses regularly. This isn't theory. It's happening in households, retirement communities, and quiet living rooms all around us. I once worked with a woman named Alice. She was 82, recently moved in with her daughter, and within a few months her personality seemed to fade. She wasn't sick. She wasn't in pain. She was just disengaged. Her days had become too quiet, too fixed. So instead of prescribing medication, we changed her environment. We added a few drops of lavender to her pillow, played music from her youth during breakfast, introduced textured fabrics during the day, and encouraged short walks through the garden. Within a few weeks, she began smiling again. Her memory improved. She laughed. She reconnected. Small changes, big results. That's when I realized repetition feels safe, but for the aging brain, it's dangerous. When you remove sensory diversity, the brain gets the signal, I don't need to try anymore. And it responds accordingly by switching into low power mode. That's why you, or someone you love, may be forgetting names, feeling less motivated, or withdrawing from social interaction. It's not always cognitive disease. Sometimes, it's simply environmental starvation. So what can we do about it? You don't need to renovate your home or move across the country. Just introduce small shifts. Try a new herb in your tea. Sit in a different chair. Open a window and listen to the sounds outside. Touch cold water. Smell rosemary. Rearrange the photos on the wall. These changes, though small, reawaken neural activity and keep your brain alert. If you're a caregiver, this matters even more. Let your loved ones explore textures, smells, sounds, and tastes. These moments are not luxuries. They are medicine for the mind. You have more power than you think to slow the process of mental aging. And it starts with choosing to break the loop. Comment yes if this reminds you of your own routine or that of someone close to you. What is one small change you can make this week to reawaken your senses? Share it below. You never know who you might inspire. Now that we've uncovered just how vital sensory stimulation is for maintaining mental sharpness, it's time to turn our attention to something equally impactful, but often ignored. What happens when you no longer have a reason to wake up with purpose? When life becomes a string of similar days, not because you're tired, but because you've stopped growing. In Part 2, we'll dive into the hidden cost of living without new goals and why the absence of purpose may be quietly shrinking your brain. Part 2. Absence of new goals. Have you ever walked into a room and smelled freshly brewed coffee and suddenly felt more alert, more alive? That wasn't just a coincidence. That was your brain responding to stimulation, coming back online, firing up networks that keep you present and engaged. Now imagine going days or even weeks without experiencing anything new. Same walls, same meals, same sounds. What happens when life becomes too predictable, too quiet, too familiar? The answer is more alarming than you think. Your brain begins to shut down, not from age, but from a lack of input. Your brain may be falling asleep simply because you haven't changed your environment or sensory experience in years. In my years of working with older adults, I've seen this silent fading happen over and over again. What looks like just aging is often something far more preventable: sensory deprivation. You see, our brain isn't wired to thrive on repetition. It needs challenge, variation, surprise. Every new sound, texture, scent, or taste activates neural pathways and helps preserve cognitive clarity. But when we remove that variety, the brain, quite literally, starts dimming the lights. Studies have shown that older adults with minimal sensory stimulation experience cognitive decline up to 3 times faster than those who engage their senses regularly. This isn't theory. It's happening in households, retirement communities, and quiet living rooms all around us. I once worked with a woman named Alice. She was 82, recently moved in with her daughter, and within a few months her personality seemed to fade. She wasn't sick. She wasn't in pain. She was just disengaged. Her days had become too quiet, too fixed. So instead of prescribing medication, we changed her environment. We added a few drops of lavender to her pillow, played music from her youth during breakfast, introduced textured fabrics during the day, and encouraged short walks through the garden. Within a few weeks, she began smiling again. Her memory improved. She laughed. She reconnected. Small changes, big results. That's when I realized repetition feels safe, but for the aging brain, it's dangerous. When you remove sensory diversity, the brain gets the signal, I don't need to try anymore. And it responds accordingly by switching into low power mode. That's why you, or someone you love, may be forgetting names, feeling less motivated, or withdrawing from social interaction. It's not always cognitive disease. Sometimes, it's simply environmental starvation. So what can we do about it? You don't need to renovate your home or move across the country. Just introduce small shifts. Try a new herb in your tea. Sit in a different chair. Open a window and listen to the sounds outside. Touch cold water. Smell rosemary. Rearrange the photos on the wall. These changes, though small, reawaken neural activity and keep your brain alert. If you're a caregiver, this matters even more. Let your loved ones explore textures, smells, sounds, and tastes. These moments are not luxuries. They are medicine for the mind. You have more power than you think to slow the process of mental aging. And it starts with choosing to break the loop. Comment, yes, if this reminds you of your own routine or that of someone close to you. What is one small change you can make this week to reawaken your senses? Share it below. You never know who you might inspire. Now that we've uncovered just how vital sensory stimulation is for maintaining mental sharpness, it's time to turn our attention to something equally impactful, but often ignored. What happens when you no longer have a reason to wake up with purpose? When life becomes a string of similar days, not because you're tired, but because you stopped growing. In Part 2, we'll dive into the hidden cost of living without new goals and why the absence of purpose may be quietly shrinking your brain. Part 3, protein deficiency. Most people don't realize it, but as we age, especially beyond 75, our relationship with food subtly changes. It's not always about appetite. Sometimes it's about digestion. Sometimes it's taste. But more often than not, it's about protein, or more specifically, the slow, silent disappearance of protein from our daily meals. I've seen this countless times in older patients who were eating regularly but still losing muscle, feeling weaker, and becoming less steady on their feet. The truth is, our bodies require more protein as we age, not less. And yet many seniors consume significantly below their recommended needs, leading to a condition called sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss. What makes this dangerous isn't just the decline in strength, it's what comes after. The inability to rise from a chair without help, the hesitation before climbing stairs, and worst of all, the risk of falling. In fact, studies show that seniors who don't consume enough protein face up to 65% higher risk of falling within just 6 months. That statistic isn't just data. It's a mirror of reality in homes and hospitals everywhere. I once worked with a woman named Linda, 77 years old. She had never been frail or raised 3 kids, ran a household, walked every morning. But slowly, she began avoiding stairs. Then she needed help getting out of bed. Eventually, she fell in her kitchen and fractured her hip. When we reviewed her lifestyle, nothing dramatic stood out, except for one thing. Her meals were lacking protein. Breakfast was toast and fruit. Lunch was light soup. Dinner was sometimes just yogurt or crackers. Her body, once strong and capable, had quietly lost the muscle it needed to keep her safe. And like so many others, Linda hadn't realized it until it was too late. What's heartbreaking is that this doesn't have to happen. Protein is the raw material your body needs to maintain, repair, and rebuild muscle. Without it, no matter how much you walk or stretch, you'll still lose ground. As a healthcare practitioner, I always advise older adults, protein is your armor against aging. And you don't need supplements or fancy powders to get it. A boiled egg, a handful of lentils, a piece of grilled chicken, or a scoop of Greek yogurt. These simple choices add up. What matters is consistency. Every meal is an opportunity to feed your muscles, protect your bones, and preserve your independence. If you or someone you love is over 65, here's something I strongly recommend. Aim to include a source of protein with every meal, not just dinner. Your body can only absorb so much protein at once, so spreading it out throughout the day makes a huge difference. Breakfast protein might mean eggs, cottage cheese, or a protein smoothie. Lunch could include beans, tuna, or tofu. Dinner could be fish, lean meat, or chickpeas. Small changes, repeated daily, protect your future more than you know. And if chewing is difficult or appetite is low, there are gentle workarounds, soups with lentils, mashed beans, or soft-boiled eggs. The point is, don't skip protein. It's not optional. It's essential. I've told this to every family I've worked with. If you want to give your loved one a real chance at staying strong, start with the plate. Because here's the reality. The fall doesn't just break the bone, it breaks confidence. It changes the way people move, think, and live. But when you prioritize muscle health through nutrition, you create a solid foundation for every other part of aging well. So let me ask you right now, how much protein did you eat today? If you're unsure, comment "need more" below, and let's start being more intentional about how we feed our bodies as we age. Because your meals aren't just fuel, they're your medicine. Now that we've tackled the nutritional side of muscle loss, let's turn to another silent threat that often goes unnoticed: the hours we spend sitting. What if I told you that sitting for long periods of time could actually be more dangerous than smoking, especially for older adults? In the next part, we'll uncover why a sedentary lifestyle is shrinking your strength and stealing your independence. Part 4. Excessive sitting and inactivity. Let me ask you something most people don't think twice about. How many hours did you spend sitting today? 2? 5? More than 10? If you're like most people over the age of 65, the answer might shock you. The truth is, sitting has become one of the most underestimated health threats of modern aging, and yet it's as common as breathing. We sit to eat, we sit to rest, we sit to read, we sit to recover. And while sitting itself isn't evil, what's dangerous is the amount of time we spend doing nothing else. You see, as we age, our muscles naturally begin to shrink. But when we compound that with long periods of sitting, we accelerate that decline, especially in the legs, hips, and core, areas critical for balance, stability, and independence. And here's the alarming part. Studies show that older adults who sit more than 10 hours per day suffer a 22% greater loss of muscle mass, and their risk of heart disease rises to a level comparable to heavy smokers. Yes, you heard that right. Sitting too much can harm your heart as much as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. When I first came across this data, I'll admit, I didn't want to believe it. But after years of observing patients in assisted living and post-hospital rehab, it became painfully obvious. The less they moved, the faster they declined. One man in particular, Mr. Thomas, stands out. At 81, he had no major medical issues, but he loved his recliner. After breakfast, he'd sit and read. After lunch, he'd nap in it. In the evenings, he'd watch TV in it for hours. Over 6 months, his legs weakened. His balance declined. He fell in the bathroom, fractured his pelvis, and from that point forward, his world shrank physically and emotionally. That story still stays with me because it was preventable. Movement isn't just exercise. For seniors, movement is medicine. It keeps blood flowing, joints lubricated, muscles engaged, and mood elevated. Even a gentle walk around the living room every hour can offset the damage of prolonged sitting. And the mental benefits? They're equally powerful. When you move your body, your brain gets more oxygen, your mood improves, and your sense of control returns. Many seniors I've worked with who felt anxious or depressed experienced significant improvement simply by adding structured movement into their day. The beautiful part? It doesn't require a gym or equipment. It starts with small changes: standing during TV commercials, walking while talking on the phone, doing light stretches every morning, or even dancing for one song. Every bit of movement counts. If you're reading this thinking, "It's been hours since I last stood up," don't judge yourself. Just make a decision now. Stand, stretch, take a few steps. Then build on that. Make it a habit. Encourage your spouse, your parent, or your neighbor to do the same. I often tell my patients, every minute you spend standing is a vote for your independence. So what's one simple way you can move more today? Comment below and share your idea. You might inspire someone else watching this to get up and do the same. Because the true danger of sitting isn't just what it does to your muscles. It's what it takes from your life, your mobility, your energy, your freedom. But you can take it back, one step at a time. Now that we've uncovered how inactivity quietly chips away at your strength and stability, it's time to look at another surprising culprit of mental and emotional decline. And it's not about what you do, it's about who you surround yourself with. In Part 5, we'll explore why limited social diversity can accelerate cognitive aging, and how reconnecting with younger generations might just be the brain boost you didn't know you needed. Part 5. Limited social diversity. Have you ever noticed how easy it is, as we grow older, to slowly shrink our world? The same group of friends, the same conversations, the same familiar stories told again and again. There's comfort in that predictability, yes, but what if I told you that staying socially safe and familiar may be quietly accelerating your mental aging? One of the most overlooked causes of cognitive decline in older adults isn't disease, it's social sameness. The truth is, your brain craves novelty, challenge, and new perspectives, not just in activities, but in relationships. When we only interact with people our age, who think like us, talk like us, and remember the same decades we do, our brains fall into a repetitive loop. There's less stimulus, fewer surprises, and far less adaptation happening upstairs. As a result, our mental sharpness dulls, our creativity fades, our ability to connect across generations weakens. I once worked with a retired teacher named Ruth, 85 years old. She was intelligent, thoughtful, and beloved by her group of church friends, all women in their 70s and 80s. But over time, her daughter noticed she was becoming more forgetful, withdrawn, and resistant to change. At first, they thought it was normal aging. But when we introduced a simple change, pairing Ruth with a high school student for a digital storytelling project, everything shifted. Ruth lit up. She started asking questions. She learned how to use voice memos. She shared stories from her childhood that hadn't come up in years. Her confidence returned. So did her sense of purpose. That's not anecdotal, it's neuroscience. Studies show that older adults who regularly engage with younger generations have a 42% lower risk of developing dementia and are 64% less likely to suffer from depression. Why? Because these intergenerational connections challenge the brain. They demand translation, adaptation, empathy, humor. They spark curiosity, and they reinforce one powerful message: I still matter. In my work with senior communities, I've seen time and time again that the most mentally resilient elders are the ones who remain socially diverse. They volunteer, they mentor, they babysit grandkids. They ask teenagers what TikTok is, even if they don't care. They stay connected to the world as it changes, instead of retreating from it. Now, if you're thinking, I don't know any young people, don't worry. It's not about quantity, it's about openness. Join a local library event, volunteer at a school, or simply strike up a conversation with the young barista at your cafe. Ask questions. Share wisdom. The exchange will do more for your brain than you can imagine. And if you're caring for an aging parent or spouse, this is even more vital. Don't just keep them comfortable, keep them connected. Invite younger family members to spend time with them. Help them record stories for future generations. Let them teach or be taught. These aren't small gestures. They are lifelines. So let me ask you, when was the last time you had a real conversation with someone 30 years younger than you? If that hasn't happened in a while, comment "time to reconnect" below, and let's make it a goal, not a coincidence. Because here's what I've learned after years in this field. Staying mentally sharp after 75 has less to do with crosswords and more to do with cross-generational conversations. And there's something truly beautiful about that. Now that we've explored how social diversity fuels brain health and emotional resilience, let's shift to something even more personal and arguably more powerful. In our next section, we'll dive into the emotional core of longevity, purpose. Because if your days feel empty or your spirit feels distant, the absence of purpose might be doing more harm than you think, and restoring it might be easier than you realize. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to take a deep breath and let everything you've just learned settle in. You've just uncovered 5 of the most powerful, yet often overlooked, reasons why health tends to decline after 75. And more importantly, you've seen that none of these declines are inevitable. They are patterns, and patterns can be changed. Maybe you saw a piece of yourself in one of the stories. Maybe you recognized a parent, a spouse, or someone close to you. The repetition of days, the gradual fading of strength, the slow shrinking of your social world. These things don't always make headlines, but they shape the quality of life more than any headline ever could. Here's the truth I want you to carry forward. You still have control. Your body might move a little slower. Your memory may need more nudging, but you are not powerless. Every small shift, from standing more often, to trying a new flavor, to calling someone younger than you, sends a powerful message to your brain and your body. I am still here. I am still growing. And that message can change everything. Because aging is not the enemy. Disconnection is. Disuse is. Defeat is. But now that you know what's working against you, you also know what can work for you. As someone who's worked with thousands of seniors and caregivers over the last decade, I can tell you, the most vibrant people in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s are not the luckiest. They are the most intentional. They don't wait for energy to magically return. They create it. They don't wait for motivation to strike. They build structure. And they don't settle for passive aging. They choose to age on their terms. And now, so can you. So I'm going to challenge you, gently, but firmly. Choose one thing from this video that spoke to you. Was it the part about protein and muscle loss? The quiet danger of sitting? The mental spark of setting new goals? The joy of reconnecting across generations? Pick just one, and act on it today. Not next week. Not when it's convenient. Today, that's how change begins. That's how life begins again. And if you found value in what we've shared today, here's how you can give back, not just to this channel, but to your future self and to others who need this message. Backhand index pointing right first, hit the like button. It helps this video reach more people who may be silently struggling. Backhand index pointing right second, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss the next video that could make just as big a difference in your life. Backhand index pointing right and third. This is the most meaningful. Leave a comment below and tell me, what's one small habit or realization you're going to take from this video and put into practice? I read every comment, and more importantly, someone else reading your story may find the courage to start their own change. Aging can feel lonely sometimes, but here, we're building something different. A community that believes in strength at every stage of life. A community that lifts each other up. So don't leave silently. Let your voice be heard. Let your wisdom be seen. This may be the end of the video, but it's the beginning of something far more important. A renewed commitment to your health, your independence, and your joy. You deserve to feel strong. You deserve to feel capable. And you deserve to age with dignity, clarity, and connection. So thank you for watching. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. And I truly hope to see you in the next video, walking taller, feeling stronger, and knowing, without a doubt, that it's never too late to live better. Until next time, stay well and stay inspired.